the channel. A little bit different setup today, but it is in selfie mode. So if that bothers you for some reason, this might not be the channel for you. Okay. Now, let's get going with the reading, and hopefully my setup here will hold for the evening. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with, I did oracle cards earlier today, so well, personal message deck anyway, that are mine, that I created. What's that character? Yeah, I did. That's me. La la la. Right. But hey, you ever been in a meeting and you say something and then nobody responds, and then 5 minutes later somebody else says the same thing, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, so ta 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 ta." And it's like, hello. Right? So I can go start my own company, and like, thank you very much. If this is the respect I'm gonna get around here, right? And that what Rodney Dangerfield was always complaining about. Is like, I get no respect. My hair is up too, by the way. Just it's kind of hard to see with this lighting. Maybe I can adjust the lighting a little bit here. That's a little better, I think. Maybe. Anyway, yeah, I'm trying not to get it too much in my face while I'm channeling. You know what I mean? So like, because if it's too much, too bright in my face, then I can't even read your guys' comments. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, so, you know, have some compassion out there for those of us that are readers. You know, some of us have some experience in your entertainment and whatnot, but not all of us have, perfect home studios set up and, all these things. So, we're just trying to get you the message here, right? So again, I say, if that's not for you, then, that's all right. You can go elsewhere. But anyway, so let's keep going, and just rebuke any of that negative energy, right? Return to sender, right? Be like, was that Elvis song? Return to sender. That address unknown. Yeah, I should have written that down. Hang on. Yeah, I had a complaint about the post office the other day, but now I can't remember. Well, it was earlier, and I was gonna message some. It was one of those thoughts that I was out driving, and was thinking of it then. So anyway, maybe I'll think of it later. 8 of Wands. Okay. Yeah, something that is happening quickly, collective. Okay. Let's see. Are these retrogrades ending? Is that what is happening quickly or has happened quickly? King of Swords, Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Okay. So collective, that could be you. You could have it in your chart if you are not sure. There's lots of websites out there that you can punch in your data and figure out what you have in your chart. There's more than one kind of chart as well, okay? Strength. Okay, Leo energy. Again, just closing out Leo season here. So, one last hurrah for the Leos, right? Yay, Leo, you made it, right? It was a big, for some of you, maybe it was like a month-long celebration. Maybe you happen to have summers off. Maybe, your work is off season, during the summertime, during your birthday season, okay, that you're able to travel. Maybe you live in a country, right? Where that is something that folks do. They take at least 2 weeks at a time, right? When I worked in the corporate world with all the Europeans, they all had like a month. Like they minimum would take like 3 weeks. So it's like you'd be going along on this project, and then all of a sudden they're just, it's like, so you just had to figure out something else to work on, right? Without their input, but sometimes it was a little frustrating, right? But that being said, right, collective, if you have that strength, that Leo, you understand what it takes to face the flames, to not only tame the fire, but stoke the fire. You got to get the fire going. I literally heard some lady in the grocery store say, "Yeah, I'll light that fire," or something like that. And kind of reminded me of that old Doors song, "Baby Light My Fire." But it's like fire represents transformation as well. Okay, so that Leo is a fire sign, right? So thinking of that, especially in August when we transition from that summer haha energy into a little bit more organized, when the season of Virgo approaches, right? Hello to everyone in the chat there this evening. Okay, let's keep going. Oop. Nine of Swords. Basilisk is the animal that is this kind of bird-like creature. I'll have to maybe post that on the community tab for y'all after the reading. Yeah, so the Nine of Swords is kind of like that stress, anxiety energy. So somebody could have some stress, anxiety leading up to an upcoming event or something. Again, pull upon your strength, whatever that may be, right? Okay. And then with your Eight of Wands, I just feel like things are going to be happening really quickly. Okay. So, the King of Swords, if you're resonating with this, you might not be used to this. All right. The King of Swords kind of has more that aloof, think Aquarian vibe. You know what I mean? Like laissez-faire, like whatever. I'll be fine. Okay, but there's a suit of armor here on, and for a reason, for protection. Okay, so this protection is going to start to make sense, I think. All right, it's going to be what gives you the strength. Okay. All right, on the bottom of the deck, yeah, Eight of Swords. So yeah, spread your love and fly, little Pegasus there. Okay. Yeah, sugar, right. Okay. For reals. Okay. So yeah, if you are feeling that anxiety, don't get like so worked up in it that you're not able to progress forward as well. Message held for review. I will never see it. I'm sorry. But I'm also not, because that's just maybe, the platform that we're on doing its job. Because I don't have a moderator, you guys. So, it's just me here, and I'm here trying to give you, these messages, right? That everybody like wants a message, right? But then people get in the chat and like start getting weird. Anyway, so if anyone out there is looking for a moderator job, let me know. Hello there, Bart. How are you this evening? All right. I'm gonna get the Modern Witch deck here for some clarification on these. Okay. So this Eight of Wands, the Hydra, it's kind of like, when you trim your flowers and then it grows extra, right? Like, so, yeah. Okay. All right, I'm gonna pull some cards to clarify here. Any other messages that this collective needs to know? Jesse says, I'll be a moderator. Jesse, are you a subscriber? Look at this, you guys. What was I talking about? Scorpio, that transformation, and Scorpio energy has been real heavy coming out lately. So for some of you, this transformation could come very quickly, okay? And I feel it's going to be also very beneficial, like almost like something that maybe should have already happened. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but in a way of just like ceremoniously closing out the chapter type thing, okay? Because we all know that we keep, hold on to the good, right? It's the wear sunscreen song guy, right? He says, try to remember the compliments, forget the insults. If you figure out how to do this, let me know. Okay. We were saying that a very long time ago, right? And they were saying that way before then too, right? So Bubba Vix 777 says, how do I get rid of demon possession? I would just pray, right? And rebuke any negative energies, any bad vibes, You might want to like sage. You could also try lighting a little white candle for your ancestors. These are just little tea lights that I got at my local fabric store, which is now closed because whatever. Bankruptcy. Hopefully they reopen the location. I don't know what's going to happen. A little annoyed by it, to be honest. But, who doesn't have time to just drive around town looking for the new stuff, right? Like we don't have other things to be doing. Anyway. Although I did see where they're putting in a Cane's, like, oh my God. And there was some other place that was like new. It was in place of an old car wash, and I hadn't been on that side of town recently, so I was like, hey, it's like, what is this? Anyway. Bart says, I am a Virgo. I my chart as in one of my charts. We have all the signs in our chart, right? To different degrees and everything, but I have it in one of my charts, highly aspected. Knight of Pentacles. Okay, Earth signs. Collective, you could be speaking with somebody who may be a little hesitant at first, okay? Or maybe you were hesitant to speak with this person because they weren't like ready to speak with you because maybe they were going through this transformation at the time. Right? So, yeah. Let's keep going. Two of Pentacles. All right, so collective, again, you could feel this juggling energy. Again, usually when I see the Two of Pentacles like this and how it's presented below the Strength card, it's like, so if you don't have the strength, reach out. Maybe somebody can kind of help you go through the decision-making process, right? And the thing is, when it's like, when you're choosing of the lesser of two evils, you know what I mean? When they're both pretty good choices, you know what I mean? In terms of, your direction, then it's like, well, just be strong and go for it, right? Suit up, boot up, right? What do you have this protection for? It's like the football player, putting the pads on and stuff. Now his little helmet, right? He's ready for his season. He's ready. My reading earlier, boots was one of the. So booting up might be significant for somebody. Anyway, boot scooting, right? Alrighty. Dogs are barking out there. Hi, priestess. So, some of this worry might be like overblown, right? Where it's like, okay, yeah, you might have a lot to do. Maybe it's just the matter of hiring the right people to do it. You know, kind of that type of stuff. Okay. Yeah, Ten of Pentacles. I feel like whatever you're working on, it's definitely going to bring you the growth and success that you require to be successful, like to pay your bills and stuff. I don't like talking about this stuff on the channel a lot because I know a lot of people are doing it and a lot of people struggle and they look to the side hustles, in this hustle culture and stuff. But, yes, there are, day jobs, a lot of people do Instacart, the DoorDash, all these delivery services. Because, just even me earlier today, it's like, ugh, it was just very peoply out there, right? And I happen to be around, a rush hour time, right? Usually when I go out, I try and am doing my errands when it's not so busy out, right? Thank goodness the part of town I ended up in, it wasn't too bad, but it was busy enough. They had to open up another aisle at the store, and it's like, yeah. Um, So, it's kind of like wherever you go, there you are. Okay. And it's like, yeah, lane, yeah, two of wands here, having decisions, having options, and he was like, oh, this lane's open. I was like, oh, I could just set my stuff down there. I could have, just stayed there, stayed put, and he would have been open and it would have been fine. But, I had one of those rotisserie chickens. So, well, I saw this thing on YouTube about some guy talking about how you're not supposed to eat rotisserie chicken because the plastic and all this stuff, and it's like, oh my god, can we not have anything? And sorry, y'all, I like rotisserie chicken anyway. The one I got was at a local grocery. It cost me like $7.99, but it was pretty big. It's pretty big. I mean, I only look at this. Look, the hierophant on the bottom here. So that's the high priest. Here's the priestess. I'm your priestess. I'm your priest. Red Hot Chili Pepper song. The lyric. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. All right. So are we comprehending? All right. Are we tuning in yet? You got whatever There goes the dog again. You got to make it work for you, right? At the end of the day, it's like nobody else is coming to save you, right? It's, that kind of vibe, that's part of why a lot of people are like, get the bag, get your hustle, I mean, you gotta make things happen for yourself. You can't just rely on other people. But hopefully when you get there, you're going to have the right people surrounding you. And I feel like that's one of the things that's actually going to come in here quickly with the Eight of Wands. So you might be saying goodbye to old relationships, old jobs, old situations, that kind of thing, where it's not like a physical death, but maybe a contractual one. Okay. Yeah, and then it could be more, planting a new seed here as a King of Swords, now understanding the direction, right? But planting it where it needed to be in the first place. Okay. And then as that grows, then you're going to have to start to have more options on that end of it, right? And then you're going to be like, oh, now what am I going to do, right? It's the same as anybody that likes to play in the stock market, right? You put some money in the stock market and then they're like, oh, well, maybe you need to buy a new car. Well, you might have to cash some of that out, right? Well, I'm just saying, or like, how do you manage that going forward? All right. So, is an option. right? But there's strategic options, right? To try and build, right? So that, you're not, 80 years old and pushing, the rock up the mountain. That's part of being grown, right? That's why Leo's king of the jungle. Leo's like, yeah, I know I can fight everybody. I don't have to, though. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, you want to come to me for advice, or you want to have messages held for review in the chat and be nasty? Right? Right now the chat's open. Do you know what I'm saying? They say microplastics in the rotisserie chicken. Yes, Park Ostrich. That is exactly what I was talking about. That they were noting. This one happened to come in like one of those shell containers or whatever, but you know what I mean? It's like you gotta eat something too. Do you know what I'm saying? You have to. Nobody is so perfect that that is just, the world that we're living in, right? If you're able to actually create that for somebody else, then please do so, right? And then, stop harassing the other people that have to eat for a living. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, some of us want to survive to the next day because we got a lot of shit to do. And trust me, rotisserie chicken is an excellent source of protein. Okay? You don't think those gym rats and all those folks are gobbling them up by, but, I'm just saying. Anyway, they say everything in moderation though, but you know what I mean? To villainize it in that way, I was just like, really? Can we... But, maybe the answer to that is to, raise your own chickens. I don't know. That's up to you, you know. So, what are you going to do about it? Anyway, it inspired me to buy a rotisserie chicken in my local grocery. Well, the lady I used to work with, when she lived, closer to where that workplace is, she used to recommend that too. So I was like, oh yeah, she said there was those chickens in there. And sure enough, there was only like two left. I got like one of two left, and that was like at what, 6 o'clock? So I don't know, something like that. So just saying, just saying. Looks like we got a little bit of time here left. I can do some Moonology cards, okay? So if you have not liked the video yet, please consider doing so, especially if you are in the chat today. Also, that is the 100% free way to support the channel, because I do not even ask you to subscribe, although you may do so if you like the content. And if you really like the content, then you can hit the notification bell and you will be notified when I go live. Okay? All right. So let's get some Moonology cards here. Alrighty. It's like, oh, like, we have to have this and this and this. It's like, well, okay, the rest of the world has to eat too. You know what I mean? It's like, not everybody has the same living situation. That's no big shock, right? Luck is on your side. New moon in Sagittarius. I was definitely wanting to pull this because of new moon vibes, and so some of you may have Sagittarius in your chart as well. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see what else here. Look at the bigger picture again, Sagittarius, and this is saying full moon in Sagittarius. So yeah, if for some reason maybe you were focused on one area, like, just zoom out a little bit and try to think of it as from a more well-rounded standpoint, about what might happen. Okay. Um, and I think part of that is, the letting go, the transformation piece. Okay. All right. Meditate and contemplate new moon in Pisces. All right. So, yeah, this, whatever you have to contemplate here, this decision, okay. If you're not a person that prays, consider meditating. Just go sit outside, and if you're not sure to ask, just say, "Hey, universe, can you help me with any hints about what I might do regarding the situation?" Okay. And maybe it'll come to you, after you've had a good night's rest. Maybe it'll come to you in, a week's time in a dream. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm in the middle of some like business deals right now, but like, things that I have to get scheduled, but like it's like, yeah, not everything can be completed at once. There's only one of me, right? Um ah, that's some funny business, isn't it? So, yeah, it's something that, you know, is part of the mystery of life, right? Like, sit out and wander and look at the stars. Let your imagination wander. There doesn't have to be a finite explanation for everything. Okay? So, that being said, let your creativity kind of be your guide as you kind of move through some of this, okay? And especially looking at the bigger picture, okay? Ooh, the answers you need are coming. Full moon in Gemini. Well, that's a relief, right? We're inquiring minds want to know, right? And the thing about Gemini Collective, maybe this is just something where you get together with a friend and like they say something and you're just like, yeah, maybe that's all the confirmation you needed. You know what I mean? And then you just kind of move on with it. I mean, yeah, if it's to that point, where there's the Nine of Swords, element. It's like, well, are you gonna stick around for that, or are you gonna learn to deal with it and move on, right? So, yeah, personal issue reaches resolution. Again, this says full moon in Cancer. So that was more in the midst of the summer. So some of this energy could have been coming on more at the beginning of the summer, all right, where now that, maybe you're back in like a school routine or whatever that might be for you, or certain work routine, maybe now things are kind coming to that simmer, right? Where the resolution is on the precipice, and that's where it's like, yeah, the answers you need are coming. Where somebody says, well, why are you worried about such and such? Isn't blah, blah, like, think about it. You know what I mean? Same. Okay. So, yeah, definitely hearing, that it's just, for some of y'all, it's just going to be a timing issue. Okay. And that's why I think this meditate and contemplate card came out. All right. Where it's like, if it's worth it, it's not going to be something to rush. Okay. Because you don't want to regret anything either. Right. Um, but, collective with this look, it's saying you're also allowed to live, right? So don't feel so stuck in somebody else's pattern of being, right? That you can't accept, you know, some of these things that are coming your way that are going to be highly beneficial. Okay. Some people don't like change, right? But that doesn't mean that it's not going to be good for us in the long run, okay? Scorpio, right? Some they're, you know, when somebody's like, "Oh, I don't want to take off this band-aid," Scorpio's like, "I'll do it for you." Psh, done, right? Like, and then they'll be like, "Oh, I'll kiss for you afterwards," right? Scorpio. I mean, isn't that kind of Okay, we're right at half an hour, so hopefully everyone enjoyed the reading tonight. Hopefully something resonated with you that you can take with you for the rest of your day into your tomorrow. Okay. Please do consider subscribing, liking the video. Remember, you do not have to be a subscriber in order to like the video. Okay. So until next time, please do manifest wisely. Bye bye.